Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Good afternoon, good evening, depending when you're listening or watching to this. Watching to this, that's a strong start right there. Oh, boy. Okay, I gotta tell you, there is something so funny about the energy of June. And I say this because it is everything mixed into one. And even when I was talking to my guides about, what do we have for the June energy? And like it's all over the map. And so it's kind of one of those things where you can't help but laugh about it because there's highs, there's lows, there's everything in between. Like there's even sideways. Sometimes you think, okay, there can only be up and down, but oh no, there's actually sideways too. That's kind of the energy of June in a nutshell. So we're going to break it down. And I think what Spirit's trying to convey, though, with this humor that they keep bringing through for me, is like, don't take yourself too seriously in June. Allow what needs to transpire in the world around you and stay in your lane. And when they say stay in your lane, they mean like just stay in your energy, focus on your energy, keep your energy at the forefront of, what's important for you. Okay. So I have one, two, three, four, five, six different points to talk about for this month. So the first one is we are stepping into heightened solar activity this month. We are at the peak of this solar cycle. So every solar cycle is 11 years, and there's a peak point in that where the cycle reaches its peak and then it will start to come down again. Each solar cycle has a different intensity to it as well. Scientists had predicted that this solar cycle would be more tame, but it has actually been much more active. So we're seeing more activations, more solar flares, more geomagnetic storms, and we're getting to that peak cycle. So that can bring about a whole bunch of different things. Like that can bring out power disturbances, power grids. When we have that big energy hitting the magnetics of our Earth, it can really disturb different electronics and things. It can also create more auroras, more impacts in our body and our energy as well. So all to say is if you're feeling really off one day, like lots of anxiety or lots of kind of whirly dizziness that you can't explain, you're like, this isn't because I'm not feeling well, because I'm feeling fine, I'm hydrated, I'm all of those things. If you're feeling that there's something else going on, check out what is happening with solar flares. Just Google solar flares today. And you'll find different websites and stuff that share what's going on. And if there's X-class solar flares happening, that's likely the cause of your anxiety. It's just a massive influx of energy. And like Spirit says, if we were to purposely go stand by a huge, um, like electronic structure, like some sort of tower at the base of it, we would feel that same feeling, that same anxiety, that same whirliness because of the intensity of energy that is interacting with our body energy. So when we get a big hit from the sun, it has an effect on our body. And we usually interpret it as anxiety. So something to think about, okay? Something to consider. We're reaching that solar cycle peak this month. So just really go with the flow, nourish your body. If you feel really tired, really worn out, that is your sign to rest. Your body is integrating a lot. Now, at the same time, these light activations are activating different aspects within our body. It is activating higher consciousness access. It's allowing our bodies to increase the frequency to support the frequency of our spirit, creating more harmony. But there's definitely an adjustment point in that. So, something to consider as you're moving through. Your body does need time to adjust for sure. Okay. Next thing we have in connection to the sun activity is specifically these sun DNA activations. So, Spirit was wanting to say, wherever you can, try and spend some time in the sun. Now, if you don't like midday sun, if that's too hot for you, sunrise and sunset sun is wonderful for your body, not only for vitamin D and for health benefits, but for the energetic support your body needs. It needs sunlight. Our bodies need sunlight. And Many people are so busy working inside all day long, they miss the sunlight. Yes, we can take vitamin D, but there's something different about sunlight. And when you consciously connect with the energetics of the sun, you can have an entirely amazing mystical experience with the sun because really light is consciousness. Think of the three guides of the light, right? They express themselves in sunlight. They are consciousness. And when we embrace sunlight energy like that and actually bring it into our being as almost like a communication with another being, it's amazing the insights that you can get. So I find what I tend to do summertime is I'll sit in the sun for a little bit, depending how I'm feeling. Sometimes it's midday, sometimes it's morning, sometimes sunset. But I will have a conversation with the sun and I'll close my eyes. And I find when I start to communicate with the sun, instead of like, say it's midday sun, and I close my eyes and I look up and it's all kind of like red, right? Like, you know how you see red or orange in your eyelids, right? When I start to communicate, I start to see different geometrical fractals in my vision. And that's like the sun's energy communicating to me. That's how I perceive it, right? You may be so intrigued with what you see with your eyes closed. Again, don't look directly at the sun with your eyeballs. Um, you might be so amazed at what you see or what kind of communications you get because light is consciousness. I cannot say that enough. So, purposely spending time in the sun to receive these DNA activations, to receive this communication, this conscious communication from the sun is so powerful. So, something to really consider. Okay. Now, the next point Spirit wanted to talk about was reclaiming your personal authority. I like this. So, this month is a big month for reclaiming your personal authority, stepping into your power, stepping into what it really means to be you, honoring that and embracing that. And like being that, embracing your personal authority. What do you think about something? Why do you think that thing about the something? Does that still feel accurate to you now? And then taking the time to reponder, relearn, whatever, and then choose again. Like it's really taking in all the information around you, but then asking yourself what you think. That is what is so incredibly important right now. We're shifting from a consciousness, like, okay, if I back up to give some background here, we talked about this in Cosmic Consciousness this past month. The shift of the great ages, the age of Pisces, which we're shifting out of, was about like obedience, being saved, mysticism, and so on. But like, it was about like a savior, being told what to do, listening and doing, being obedient. The age of Aquarius that we're in now, though, is different. The age of Aquarius wants us to know who we are, to create from that point and share it with the community, with the world. Co-create with those around you, but co-create from a point of knowing who you are and what you're about. What is your personal truth? What does it mean to be authentically you? What does that look like? How can you work with who you are in co-creation with those around you? So that's the key thing is by reclaiming our personal authority, we step into this frequency energy of the age of Aquarius. So when we're harmonized with that, we can utilize the energies coming our way with more ease and grace. If we're looking for someone to always tell us what to do, it gets really challenging, right? Like you will find you can't quite find the answer because what the answer really is residing within you. So again, it doesn't mean you can't listen to a whole bunch of things and gather ideas from many different people. But you have to listen in a way that you take the pieces that resonate. So for example, anything that I share with you, card readings, podcast, any messages, the spirit tune-ins, whether it's from me, whether it's from spirit, you take that information in and you pull the parts that resonate. And you pull from the parts that maybe trigger something in you and you ask why. Why do I really like this? Why does this trigger me? Why whatever? And find out what it means to you. That's where you start to get your personal authority because no matter what I say, no matter what spirit says, what is most important is what you think about it and how you act on behalf of self. Because when you are doing that, then you can co-create with your guides, with the universe, with others, with more ease and grace. Because when you get a lot of people who understand their personal authority, but also have this beautiful Aquarian desire to work with others, to create for the greater good of others, then you have amazing community aspects that come together to create better systems, better policies, better access to information, whatever it might be. You need to know who you are. Now, that doesn't mean you reach a point where you just know who you are, period, and it doesn't change. We have to change our thinking of that. Personal authority, I think, is something that is always shifting and changing in terms of what it looks like. It's not like we're like, this is who I am forevermore. We're going to continually change and grow, but it's when we're willing to show up authentically, learn what we can from a situation, change our mind if we need to once we get more information, and move accordingly. It's like being in this energy of flow where your personal authority is actually you always being in a state of authenticity and learning, right? What can I learn from this? How can I grow? How can I help in this from what I can truly give of myself, right? That is where we become so powerful, and it's so individualized as what that actually looks like. But it's about discovering, what is it to have personal authority for you? What does that look like? Sometimes it can be big things in your belief systems. Maybe it's changing some family dynamics. Maybe it's stepping out of religion or stepping into religion or a different one, or whatever it may be. It might be how you dress. You decide to suddenly start dressing different. You're like, you know what? I'm going to do this instead today, just because I never have. And why shouldn't I? Right? Like if you want to dye your hair purple, maybe you just do. And then maybe you dye it back after. But what you did is you allowed yourself the space for your personal authority to step in and try something, right? Like that's the thing, is when we answer the call of what does it mean to be you, then you get to know what it does mean to be you more and more and more. And you continue to evolve in that, and you become such a greater frequency so that when you put your authentic energy into any task or project or co-creation, you have that much more energy to co-create from, and you make a bigger impact. You can't just be in the energy of following anymore. Aquarius does not want us to just follow. He wants us to work together and create new, right? So it's a really neat energy. So this idea of reclaiming personal authority this month is super powerful. And the sun, I think, really is activating that also. It's amplifying this capacity to step into who you are in whatever that looks like. Okay. So I love this. Now, here's another thing. Here's the next point. So within this personal authority, we then step into the next point, which when Spirit brought it forward, I was like, what does that mean? They said June will be a month of shock and awe. And I was like, wow, okay. In which ways? Like, how are we looking at this? And they said it's actually across the board. So, shock. Let's look at shock first. We will likely this month see different Earth movement. We will see different Earth events. We will see way bigger solar flares. We will see more things that shock us unfolding through media. So like on either like political scales or news, like what's going on in the world. Let's put it that way. There will be more shock in that way where we're like, what? No way. Okay. Also, though, situations that come up that you're like, what is this? At the same time, it's paired with the awe factor of huge realizations, huge compassion, huge initiatives. Also, this like renewed, Spirit is saying renewed eyesight in the value of humanity and the beauty it brings. So it's almost like with what shocks us, there's an equal response of awe that brings us back into this balance and helps us to see the progress of what we're doing. There's a lot of culminations happening though this month. And it part of it is to do with it being like 6 months into this year, it's like a lot that has been gathered up from the beginning of the year until now has to be brought to completion for the next phase of the year to carry on. So lots of shock and awe, lots of shifting. And this again is where spirit is like, what you need to do though is keep, and again, sometimes it's so easy to say and so hard to do, but the idea is like, try to roll with it. And they're saying not take things so personally. And that can be really hard to do. And so I'm just asking them, I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? What does that look like? And they're saying, for things that you cannot directly affect yourself, you cannot physically be a part of fixing the thing, whatever it is, you can change your energetics about it, hold a different frequency about it, send intentions, send prayers, all of that, instead of staying in the energy of fear, right? They're like, roll through it. Notice what can you affect personally and what can you not. They're also saying, sitting in that energy of doom and gloom, like, uh-oh, everything is just going downhill. All of this is bad. Everything is bad. They're like, that's not going to help either, because in reality, everything is changing, and it's changing through chaos, which is something I talked about in Cosmic Consciousness. Again, if you want to dive into that and know more and you missed Cosmic Consciousness in May, you can purchase that one on avalonspirit.com under Cosmic Consciousness. It's about how the energetics of chaos bring about change. And that's essentially what we're going through. And so Spirit's like, you need to know that to kind of hack the matrix energy and be able to see through the surface level chaos that's happening and see what is changing underneath, right? See both the shock and the awe. Sometimes we can see something so shocking and be like, oh my gosh. And then at the same time, we can be in awe of, wow, I didn't know either that existed or that was possible or that was a thing or I can't believe this. But look at what has come from it. Look at what came to the surface because of this. Look what's changing now. These kinds of things. So they keep showing me these scales of balance, and the scales of balance are constantly in motion right now because it is a transformation time. So they're like, remember, it is constantly in motion. It's not just negative. There's a lot of positive coming in to try and balance that also. All right. The next point. I talked about this in my video last week about these massive galactic oscillations that are happening. And they showed it to me again, like sort of like a spinning disc moving along a line, right? If you picture a clothesline and you had a disc moving on it and you spun it and it starts to move down that line, that spinning disc is really representing our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy that we're in. And what's happening is that as it's moving down the line, meaning moving through time and space, because our galaxy moves through time and space, there are a couple times where it oscillates and it appears like it's moving forward, but then it moves backwards and then it moves forward again. And part of this is based on some bigger level manipulations, which is also being balanced out by some of the greater galactic races beyond our galaxy to try and add some stability to this oscillation, because it's creating even bigger waves of discomfort, if you will. And it's also having an effect on the sun. So not only as this oscillation affects us here on Earth, it's also affecting every planet, and it's also affecting our sun. And so it's kind of amplifying this discomfort, these feelings of like burps and explosions from the sun is also part of this oscillation of the whole galaxy right now. So that is being worked on right now by the galactics, the galaxy level galactics. Sometimes they're referred to as the Cedars. They've also referred themselves to me as the Origins. But they're saying that this oscillation can sometimes amplify the feeling of the swing within ourselves between our light and our dark. And sometimes we may think like, oh my God, I was so high vibing yesterday and everything made sense, and today nothing makes sense at all. They're saying it's that movement that we don't normally ever notice. We're noticing it and it really throws us off. And again, Spirit's giving us this information so that we can detach from it a little bit and not take it personally, right? We can't take a solar flare personally or geomagnetic storms. The anxiety that comes up from that is not about you. It's affecting you, but if you can see it separately, you can take that pressure off. Same with these galactic oscillations. So that big swing of a pendulum you're feeling between light and dark, oftentimes, in this case right now, is not actually about you. Don't take it personally. There are greater things affecting our planet right now. And again, this is where spirit is like, if you can try and keep a lighthearted energy, you will move and flow through these shifts and changes with more ease and grace rather than feeling like you're just all over the map. Okay, we have big level things happening. And so then again, the Pleiadians for this last piece of this update here are coming through explaining these pieces to us because we are at a level of consciousness where we have more capacity to understand, more capacity to see how things are so connected, how we are connected to this planet, to this solar system, to the greater galaxies, to the universe, right? Like it's like the butterfly effect in chaos theory. One thing can affect so many other things, right? Like here's an example they're showing me. Um, when Earthlings, Terrans, us, set off an atomic bomb, even for testing, that has ripples not only in our solar system, but through the galaxy, which is why the galactics are so intent on watching humanity because we've come into this understanding of how to create nuclear technology, obviously, but it has a way bigger ripple effect than we think. It creates an energetic pulse that can affect their energies, their systems, their worlds also, right? Like it creates almost like an oscillation in one sense, right? So everything is so incredibly connected right now, and we're coming into this understanding of really seeing that. And that's why the Pleiadians, amongst others in the Galactic Federation, are coming forward to a lot of people right now, bringing them insights, encouraging them to learn this, that, or whatever to do with higher consciousness, higher thinking, understanding quantum fields, quantum realms, quantum entanglement. Like we're hitting a totally next level understanding. And we are supposed to, because it's the only way we're going to be able to step up onto that galactic level of interaction, which is where we're headed, which is what they want, right? So we need to understand that link in order to be a part of it. And what's hard right now is some people are understanding that link, and others are still really rooted in the kind of narrow-minded view of Earth simply being all that there is, when it is absolutely not that. And so the Pleiadians are really encouraging this open-mindedness. Like when you feel drawn to learn something, or say suddenly you're like, I need to know about quantum entanglement. And you're like, I don't know why, but I need to know. Dive into it. There's a reason you're being drawn to learn about it. And the thing is we have so much written word on this planet already. And there's so much more coming too, like people sharing their understandings, their insights. There's so much written word that there is so much available here already that we can read tangibly, literally read it. We don't have to download and intuit or receive messages for everything. Sometimes they just lead us to a certain book or a person or a teaching so that we can gain that knowledge. And that's really helping us awaken. So notice where you're being drawn to explore, to understand. For some of you, it might be certain places on Earth at different locations. All of these things are opening up our awareness to how interconnected everything is beyond just our human life too. And again, if you're listening to my content, obviously you know that and you're in that realm of thinking, but more and more people are thinking about that. It's coming into their consciousness, their ponderings, and this is a really good thing. So that's why June has so much. It really is from like, oh my gosh, from things happening in our world that consume our minds, right? All the way to things happening on a massive galactic Milky Way level and everything in between, which again is why Spirit is like, don't take this month personally. Don't internalize things as your fault, your problem. look at what they're triggering, but just look for everything that comes across your path is sharing something. Maybe it's sharing with you how well you're doing and how much you've accomplished. Maybe it's sharing with you where there are triggers, but it's the sharing of information to help you clear your path more and more and step up into that higher consciousness. So, in June, the more you can be lighthearted, centered your energy in play or joy from super fun, crazy things like who knows, maybe water slides, theme parks, nights out with your friends, all the way to the simple joy of, a morning cup of coffee, watching the sunrise, everything in between that. Anchor your energy in that, and you'll be able to move through the solar cycle peak energies, the sun activations, the galactic oscillations, the shock and awe that is June. You will be able to move through it with more ease and grace. So I want to thank you all so much for joining me as always. I really appreciate it so very much. And I wish you all a beautiful month, a beautiful week, and may you embrace this with your own personal authority so that you feel more grounded and more centered in who you are. All right, everyone, have a beautiful rest of your day.